In a world of COVID and amazing online courses, is an MBA still worth your time, energy, and money? In this video, I'm going to be sharing the complete truth from my point of view, whether I think an MBA is right for you or not. Coming right up. Hey there, welcome back to Supercharge. My name is Sonal, Bahl, former HR director and career strategist with over 2 decades of international corporate experience. And in this channel, I share my favorite tips and strategies to help you to stand out, to land that dream job, get promoted, and lead a richer, happier, and more purposeful life. If that is what you want, you've got to subscribe, you've got to hit that bell icon so you know when I'm releasing more videos, when I'm live. And now let's dive in. So before we talk about whether an MBA is right for you or not, let us first understand what an MBA is, right? Traditionally, it's been a 2-year program, in some places 1 year, 18 months, that one had to take in order to rise up the corporate ladder. It was one of those things you just couldn't do without, right? And what they would do is they would put you in these classrooms and you would have to learn subjects that were out of scope that you had not done before, but you got more familiar and more accustomed to them, like finance, leadership, economics, accounting, marketing, all of these courses put together. And there would be heavy focus on group work, working with classmates, interacting with faculty, etc. So that was the original idea. Now, in the world we live in today, right, a lot of knowledge that this is going to be a little controversial. Ooh. A lot of knowledge that you get from these MBA programs, you can actually get in courses online for a fraction of the price, right? I mean, it's not like one MBA program is superior to another MBA program just because their coursework is very different and very special. I'm just going to say it, right? A lot of the top programs in the world rely on something called the case method, right? You're given a case, you're given 5 or 10 minutes to prepare, you got to do skim reading, speed reading, and then debate about it in a classroom, come up with very unique points of view. It encourages sort of, critical thinking, analytics, etc. So all that is great, right? Can you get all of that learning without doing an MBA? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And what happened in the COVID world, right? A lot of these programs could no longer be face to face. So some of them were charging the same amount, which, by the way, goes into anything from $100,000 to $200,000. That's not something to joke about, right? And they were doing all of these virtual. My personal opinion is if you're going to go for a top program and pay those big bucks and make that huge investment in your career, please make sure it is in person. It is face to face, because that has a certain value. And when companies are hiring, they care about that. And that value gets diminished if you want to do an MBA program, but then you decide to do it online. Now, having said that, like I said, there's so many courses that you can take online that you can get all of those skill sets, right? Now, one of the things you need to see is the roles you're interested in applying for, do they really need an MBA or not? Right? Those companies also have to be critically honest with themselves. A lot of hiring managers in the world we live in today don't really care about having or not having an MBA. What they care about is skills. Can you hit the ground running? Can you start solving problems in your first 90 days? Can you decrease the pain that the company is in? That is what matters to them a lot. Another thing to keep in mind is a lot of cases and a lot of academic studies that are done in these programs can sometimes be pretty out of date, right? So they're maybe teaching something that has come from the 1990s or early 2000s. That's already 20, 30 years ago, right? So except for, I don't know, maybe leadership or something, a lot of things have changed in all of the other domains that we spoke of. So if they're supposed to teach you how to be agile, how to adapt well, when it came to COVID, everyone struggled equally, right? It's not that those who had an MBA were able to brace the storm better within their company. There's no, I don't think I've seen any research to that effect. And another thing to keep in mind is the program, for example, that I've done, which is INSEAD, which is the top 2, top 3 program globally, and I'm very proud of that, right? Now, during COVID and during the times we're in, there are a huge amount of travel restrictions. So if there was travel required during the course of the MBA, maybe you had an exchange program or go somewhere with friends. I mean, the social life is a huge part of an MBA program. So if you don't have access to that, that value is diminished as well. Now, having said that, I do have to say that during 2020, according to figures supplied by GMAC, which is the Graduate Management Admission Council, the applications to business schools went up. So 2/3 of business schools around the world reported an increase in applications. So there is a demand, right? There is a lot of students feel that this is a great time for me to take a break from corporate life and now shelter myself in this program and make something of myself, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. Now listen, no one does an MBA for the fun of it. I don't think anyone does, unless they're sponsored by their company and they're going to spend 1 or 2 years partying, right? Honestly, that's it. Most people, when they decide to do an MBA program, it's because there is some sort of a frustration somewhere and they want a better job, they want a better title, they want more money. And that's, I think, completely like, those are really good reasons for doing an MBA. Now, let's talk about some advantages of doing an MBA. I think the first and foremost is it's an accelerated path to career change. If you're looking at a change of position, geography, or industry, an MBA can help you to do it faster than you would be doing it on your own, right? Typically, right? And that is exactly the reason I did an MBA, by the way. This was back in 2008. It was actually by the way, side note, worst time to graduate. I graduated in 2009, which was smack in the middle of the global financial crisis. And I happened to get 5 job offers, which was completely crazy and sort of unheard of at that time. And I'm going to link a video right here where I show you how I did that and, peel it back. So hopefully that helps. So anyway, as I was saying, so it's a great way to figure out a career change and do it faster than you would normally do. So the first is a change of function. In my case, I wanted to stay in HR, right? HR within HR. But the second is a change of industry. I wanted to be in, I was in consulting, and I wanted to be in sort of industries, right? Industries that have products or services, particularly product-based industries. And the third is change of geography. So I wanted a different place to live in. I'd been living by then in India, in Uruguay, and in Chile, and I wanted to work in Europe. So an MBA helped me to do that. And yes, I wanted an increase in the hierarchy as well. I wanted to climb up a little bit in the corporate hierarchy, and an MBA gave me that step up, and as well a massive increase in salary. So those who are MBA graduates, there's a sizable amount of difference between MBA salaries and salaries of people who are graduates only. The second benefit, and that's a lifelong benefit, is what I think of as the network effect, right? So you hang out with a lot of people during that 1 year, 2 years. So I'm not just talking about like friendships for life and fuzzy, wuzzy, lovely feelings and it's warm and cozy. I'm also talking like, membership in alumni associations and certain clubs that you're a part of. So, if you know a friend who's an entrepreneur and he just, founded this startup, and you find that interesting, it takes one phone call sometimes and they're willing to have a conversation because you're from the same business school, even if you didn't graduate at the same time or even the same decade. I've seen that happen. And the network effect is very powerful. So it's not just alumni, it's also, your fellow students, you stay in touch, and faculty as well. So that is very powerful, and I would say worth every cent of the MBA. The other thing is what I call the stamp effect, right? There is a certain prestige that is associated. And here, what I highly recommend is if you're going to be doing an MBA and you want to, do a top MBA, it's not cheap, right? It's a massive investment. It's definitely worth aiming for the good ones. And if you don't get in, then looking at it at a second attempt or a third attempt, because that's what happened in my case. There is a stamp effect, and it's something that you carry with you for the rest of your life, right? Brand matters, pedigree matters. And related to that, it also opens doors to you that would otherwise not have been opened. But because you have that MBA, there is a perception that you are a little bit different, that you're a little bit better. Here is where I want you to ask yourself many different questions before you decide to make an investment in your MBA program, okay? Number one is the huge, massive price, right? The investment of it is not cheap. Like I said, it goes from anywhere from 100,000 to a 200,000. And that sometimes excludes living costs, right? It's just the tuition. And do not forget that during that period of time, you're not working. The opportunity cost is zero. So that is a big amount of money, and a lot of people underestimate it. When they graduate, they're like, holy heck, I'm not only like broke, I'm actually in debt. So if there is a way, if you can find out how there can be a sponsorship from your company, a scholarship, a lot of MBA programs run scholarship programs, so it's something that you need to find out if you have enough savings, if your family and friends can chip in, because if you're going to do it, it is definitely going to set you back by a lot. Now, this one is a tricky one, so bear with me here. Typically, what I have seen with MBA programs is that the age of students ranges anything from 24 to about 35, 36, right? So that spread is quite common. And what I'm seeing is that if people have, let's say they're older, let's say, you're 37, 38, there's no hard and fast rule. This is a suggestion of mine. I think you might want to focus more on an executive MBA program, right? And if you're less than 24, you might want to think about getting a couple of more years of work experience, or maybe even looking at programs that don't need work experience. I know that in some institutes, for example, in India, you can do an MBA immediately after graduating from college. I personally am a huge fan of working for a little while and then doing an MBA, because I think you apply certain lessons from the MBA a little bit easier. They're easier to digest because you've seen how it is in the real world, right? And the things that you're reading are not necessarily academic, but more sort of in real life. And that is another thing that you want to watch out for, is the courses in the MBA programs. You've got to see, because they might just end up being so academic, right? And they don't necessarily feel like real world that we're living in 2022 and beyond. Focus on that so that you don't necessarily just graduate with theoretical knowledge, but also some sizable amount of practical experience. So what I'm going to say lastly is you got to take a very hard, long look at your finances and at your career goals to figure out if an MBA is right for you, right? Having said that, if you have a science or arts background, you want to learn about business, is an MBA right for you? Yes. You are an entrepreneur, you've just founded a couple of companies and you want to do an MBA, is it right for you? Yes. You are an executive in a certain company and you want to move up to more senior roles, is an MBA right for you? Heck yes, it is. At the end of the day, keep in mind, this is one way to get ahead in your career. It is one tool. It is not the only tool in the world. And more than 2/3 of the world's CEOs do not have an MBA diploma. So figure out what it is that's important to you. Look at your before, look at your after. It's not going to be like a magically different thing overnight. It takes time, right, for you to really milk the return on investment of the MBA diploma. So like I said, an MBA is one of the ways that you can learn, right? And another way is this YouTube channel. So if you liked what you saw, give me a nice big juicy little thumbs up. Subscribe. That little circle you see with my face on it, just click there and you'll subscribe. And I think next you should watch this video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep dreaming, keep believing, keep supercharging. You got this.